Good afternoon, everybody. On this Monday, October 27th, 2025, I got all of your stories for your rush hour ride home. And great news, I'm back in my home studio setup after several weeks with the mobile studio, driving back from Florida. I can tell you right now, I'm exhausted, but I've got no place I'd rather be than here with you. And we have a lot to talk about. A populist movement, tax the rich chants going on in New York City. What this means, this battle between policymakers and, real middle class, salt of the earth people, our farmers, our cattle ranchers, our single moms, families that need food stamps. We're reaching a critical point where a revolution is happening with people fed up that the system we all pay into is not paying us back, not working for us. So we're going to talk about all of that. The ships being blown out of the water, a possible war in Venezuela, food stamps, the idea that the government's going to hold that over your head as leverage to get the government turned back on. And again, we have the Secretary of Treasury claiming to be a farmer, the 600 millionaire. Turns out he's just a landlord. We'll get into that. But first, let's get into this. Zohran Mamdani running for mayor of New York. The election is just over a week away. He already defeated the guy he's running against in the primary. So the guy he's running against said, you know what? If I can't win as a Democrat, I'll run as an independent. Remember, they used to say, vote blue no matter who, unless you lose to Zohran Mamdani. And we also have Republicans trying to come up with a way to kick Zohran out of the country since he's an American citizen, but he wasn't born here. So I guess they're looking for loopholes to kick him out of the country. It's like, come on. The city of New York is about to vote him in as the mayor. If you think he's going to do a terrible job, you're going to have to wait and see how it all plays out. Here he is with a grassroots movement, a packed stadium with AOC, Bernie Sanders, and look at this. I mean, just a wild amount of crowds there. And they've a year ago, nobody knew who he was. Nobody knew who this guy was. I still get comments from people that don't like him, right? And they'll say certain things about him. Brad Lander, though, who ran against him as mayor in the primaries, has endorsed him. Not to say that everyone should have the same opinions of Zohran Mamdani, but what's interesting is not the man himself, but the message he comes with, this idea to tax the rich. So here it was, the rally last night, Zohran, before he was speaking, Governor Kathy Hochul made a surprise appearance. And listen, good on Kathy Hochul for a lot of her policies. She's fighting back against ICE coming into her state, and she's really, shown a lot of spine when it comes to battling Trump. But she still, would be the final person who can help approve Zohran Mamdani's plans to tax the ultra-wealthy an extra percentage or two. The crowd here is chanting "tax the rich" as she is speaking. Have a listen to this. The sound of tax the rich drowning her out. And we need to remember, the idea of taxing the ultra-wealthy is an idea that is supported by both the left and the right. The middle class understands we're not all making $10 million a year, or even more. In some cases, $60 million with one insider trading crypto scam, right? So we are all on the same side of this, which is the ultra-wealthy should pay more because they've benefited more from the systems that are already put in place. That's kind of the scale of taxation a lot of people want. One that says the more you make, the more you should be taxed. Not saying 100% and not like we want to, disperse all of your wealth, but just to say, look, if you're ultra wealthy, maybe you should fill in more potholes than the person who's just trying to get back on their feet. Makes sense, right? Well, here's the list of donors for Trump's private ballroom. And a lot of people have said, who cares if he's building a ballroom if it's a private donation? What do we care if it's not money coming from the taxpayers? Well, how about this? Why do these billionaires exist and can dole out so much money? Because they're not paying their employees a fair wage in many cases. We have companies like Walmart and others that pay their employees such little money that the majority of their employees are on government assistance. That's not right. You shouldn't be part of a billionaire family like the Walton family, the Walmart family, right? Where you can sort of gain all of this wealth and have essentially indentured servants, people that can barely afford to work but can't afford to quit being there. And these are the types of companies that are paying for this private ballroom. Companies that could be donating money or paying a higher tax percentage to help more people out, more poor people out. From Google, my boss, Amazon, right? Coinbase, all the crypto companies, T-Mobile, also a sponsor. See, I'm not afraid to talk about my sponsors. Looking at you, Mint Mobile. Not that, whatever. You get the point. The Winklevoss brothers, the Adelson family, which has donated hundreds of millions of dollars to Donald Trump's campaign. So what's the point of all of this? The point is, if these private citizens and some of these corporations have so much money to build a ballroom that we're not going to get to dance in, what kind of metaphor is that for the country we live in? George Carlin said it, right? It's a big club and you ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club. That's it. That's what it comes down to. So all this money that's going to be donated ain't going to get you and I to do the Lindy Hop in the Trump ballroom. They want us to call it the Epstein ballroom, okay? But this is it, right? They're going to donate the money. Maybe they'll get some carve-outs or some considerations when they need a helping hand. That's the system of favors that exists. So, we've got people that are asking this question. Why the hell are we giving food stamps to 40 million people? Does anyone work anymore? Which is such a privileged question and such a shitty question to ask. Melanie Diorigo says 44% of Americans are paid less than a living wage by their employers, forced to rely on taxpayer-funded social safety nets like SNAP. Programs like SNAP subsidize the profits of companies like Walmart, Starbucks, and McDonald's who pay poverty wages. Now, this might not be the same in every state, but the state I live in has the federal minimum wage of $7 an hour. There's a lot of people, you cannot survive off of double that. $15 an hour, you cannot survive on. The median savings in our country, on average, the average savings is like $600 in people's bank accounts. So not even next month's rent. So the idea that they're going to dangle health, we talked about this morning, but this idea that they're not going to pay out the SNAP benefits, even though they do have the emergency money, that's just leverage that they're trying to put a pain point on the Democrats to get the government back up and running. The only problem with that is a majority of the people that receive SNAP benefits are Republican voters in Republican states. So not to say all of them, but enough where it's going to be very damaging to their own constituents to try to, quote unquote, win this battle. A battle that the Democrats are only fighting to keep healthcare costs low. So either way, you're seeing this all play out, and but this is real funny. Aaron Rupar shared this on his Twitter. Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, tries to make the claim that he's actually being hurt by the tariffs because he's an American farmer, which he's quickly corrected online by. Have a listen to this.
I did mean the second term. I know they have met before. The president has also said he does want our farmers to be taken care of. You did mention that China has been boycotting American soybeans, and American farmers have really suffered. Do you see a real light at the end of the tunnel there? They may allow soybeans again?
Well, Martha, in case you don't know it, I'm actually a soybean farmer, so I have felt this pain too. And there are a couple of things happening here. One,
let's do a moment of silence where we can all pray for Scott Bessent, a soybean farmer. The hell is he talking about? He's worth $600 million. He's not tilling land. He's not out there. And of course, quickly fact-checked, Secretary of Treasury Scott Bessent is not a farmer. He's a hedge fund manager who rents farmland to farmers. He gave himself a tax windfall in the big, beautiful bill. Those giveaways to the rich are funded by the tariffs that are slamming into American farmers and working families. Yeah, that's right. So on a recent disclosure, he said the farmland he owns generates between $100,000 and $1 million in rental income for him annually. So there he is, old farmer pulling himself up by his bootstraps there, 600 millionaire Scott Bessent. These are the people that are trying to tell you, look, there's going to be a little bit of pain. You got to hang in there. Just like the rest of us, while we kind of batten down the hatches at the Trump/Epstein ballroom, hang in there while we ride out this storm. This is, the fact that we don't have more people riding in the streets, they must be like pumping Xanax into the clouds or something, because this is the time, folks. Now is the time for people to say, we're not putting up with it. This cabinet, Trump's cabinet, has more billionaires. I mean, the majority of the people that are surrounded by him are billionaires and are becoming even wealthier billionaires by their policies. And yet, starting in 2026, just a couple months from now, 20 million people's health insurance, those that are on the Affordable Care Act, will in some cases quadruple. And people don't have that kind of money. They're going to opt just not to have health insurance. They're going to roll the dice, which means, poor man's health insurance means don't go skiing, right? Try not to slip on a pothole. Don't do anything too dangerous out there. Wear a helmet when you drive. You know what I mean? Like the broke man out here trying not to have any bones go through their skin. Not good. Right? They estimate 60,000 people a year in the United States die because of preventative illness. And this is what is supposed to be the richest country in the world. It's absolutely ridiculous that we have any starvation, that we have any issue with healthcare costs and all the other things going on. The system is rigged. You are not invited to the ballroom. All right, coming up next, we're going to continue talking about all of this. The shutdown, we've got Republican senators right now pretty much admitting the shutdown here is the person responsible is Trump, because he is not trying to negotiate. This story next. Today's episode of the Rush Hour is sponsored by Brick House Nutrition. We've all tried the fad diets over the years: juice cleanses, cabbage soup diet, raw food, etc. Doctors call it weight cycling. Half of Americans do it. And if you do it enough, you are at risk of diabetes, liver damage, heart attack, and stroke. Weight cycling is when you lose 10 or so pounds, but then you put the pounds back, plus a couple more. That puts tremendous strain on your organs and leads to serious health issues. Bottom line, most people need help to stop weight cycling, and here's a great way. Non-prescription Lean was created by doctors. Lean is an oral supplement, not a GLP-1 injectable, and the science is impressive. Its studied ingredients also target weight loss in 3 powerful ways. Lean helps maintain healthy blood sugar. It helps control appetite and cravings, and it helps burn fat by converting it to energy. And burning fat helps keep the weight off. If you want to lose meaningful weight at a healthy pace and keep it off, add Lean to your diet and exercise lifestyle. Get 20% off when you enter Rush Hour at TakeLean.com. That's code Rush Hour at TakeLean.com. I mean, so this is the big idea, right? That the big shutdown that's going on, it's the Democrats' fault. The Republicans want to open it up. The Democrats say, we're not trying to make a point. We're trying to change policy because you are vastly ripping people off with the trillions of dollars in cuts you're trying to do to Medicaid. Well, here is Lisa Murkowski, Republican senator from Alaska. She's admitting it. She's saying, yeah, no, this is Trump's shutdown.
I don't know that we've ever had a shutdown, and I've unfortunately been through more than my share of them. I don't think we've ever had one where the president was not engaged at the end, and so I think that would certainly help. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like when if you ever played chicken before and one person blindfolds themselves, like they're not flinching. Trump, he's not even negotiating. So this idea that they even want a solution, they're breaking something so that they can show you, look, it was broken. It's like, no, you broke it. You did the big, beautiful bill, which was, I mean, healthcare already was, duct taped together. It was already in bad shape. But this is making it so that the system is completely broken. It's a crisis out there, a crisis that people are just about to realize. And while we can't get any negotiating going on in the shutdown, glad to see we're getting TikTok back up and running.
We reached a final deal on TikTok. We'd reached one in Madrid, and I believe that as of today, all the details are ironed out, and that will be for the two leaders to consummate that transaction on Thursday in Korea.
Jeez, I don't understand. Consummate the transaction? What this? You mean sign the contract? What, is there some cultural issue we don't know about? Well, I'll give you TikTok, but you're going to have to get down on those Gavin Newsom knee pads that he's been selling. All right, so there it is. TikTok saved. Maybe we'll all get an ad popped up saying, thank the Lord President Trump for saving our short form content. Here's Trump talking about why he wouldn't run, because there was a rumor that the way he would run for a third term is if he was vice president. He says he won't do that.
You might try to serve a third term, is that you could run as the vice president.
Yeah, I'd be allowed to do that.
Is it the White House or the White House counsel to your legal position?
No, you'd be allowed to do that, but I wouldn't. I wouldn't do it. I think it's too cute. Yeah, I would rule that out because it's too cute. I think the people wouldn't like that. It's too cute.
Too cute. So he won't run for vice president in 2028. Good to know. Listen, I mean, I don't wish death on anybody, but, actuarially speaking, he's probably not going to be alive by then, I mean, there talks about whether or not he had a stroke or that bruise issue on his hand. He's an old guy, starting at 75, your health goes down real fast. I mean, people don't live forever. His blood pressure is made out of with that special McDonald's Big Mac sauce. You know what I mean? It's like the guy. That's why he's orange. It's from Big Mac sauce. It's rough shape out there, guys. Now, Trump went on to say that he thinks that Marco and J.D. Vance would make great presidents. I hate to tell you this, but from a mile away, I can tell you the cult does not continue when Trump's gone. Maybe a percentage of them does, but Marco Rubio has the personality of, I hate to even say, I wouldn't even call him vanilla, because vanilla is an underrated flavor. He's got white bread without the peanut butter and jelly. Just plain white bread, not even toasted, no butter. That's what Marco Rubio has. And by the way, Rubio and Vance are walking contradictions, right? They've contradicted themselves left and right. I hate to say it, but every person that's attached themselves to this movement, the movement that has never had worse ratings, every single person who's attached themselves to that is fucked. They're fucked out of their mind. And you know this because everyone's trying to position for a life after Trump. And there's going to be some politicians, those that are in their 30s and 40s, that have decades to come where they're going to have to answer to the questions of everything that's going on. The lack of due process, the lack of First Amendment rights, and all these other issues. There are very few Republicans, mainly just libertarians, that have actually tried to defend the Constitution. So here we have Ruben Gallego talking about the boat strikes. This is the dozens of people that have been blown out of the water, made into fish food in the Caribbean Sea, all on the precipice of a war with Venezuela/Colombia. Have a listen.
The president feels that they're doing something illegally, then he should be using the Coast Guard. If there's an act of war, then you use our military, and then you come and talk to us first. But this is murder. It's sanctioned murder that he is doing that. And it's very simple for someone like him to talk about killing people or doing something in the name of war. He's never actually served. He's never actually pulled a trigger. And it's very dangerous what he's doing, both to our international relations, to our friends down in South America, and to these men and women that have to make these calls for a president that has zero understanding about the responsibility someone has when it comes to having to make life and death decisions. It's disgusting what he's doing.
Says it's disgusting what he's doing. Yeah, that's what due process is. It's a chain of directions in a way to have fair justice served. And in this case, it's like, well, and I've said this all along, if there are drugs on these boats, pull them over with Coast Guard. If they're in international waters, maybe track them, but you don't have any jurisdiction there. Imagine if some country in the Middle East was bombing our fishermen. We would be in a war. And that's exactly what we're in right now. They're not declaring it a war, but these are wartime scenarios. And, in the case that if they are drugs on the boat, you ever see these local police forces, right? You'll get Lebanon, Tennessee. And they'll make a big drug bust. They'll take a photo with all the police officers. Come in, comb your hair, Sergeant. We're going to take a photo next to all of the cocaine we caught before, Don Jr. gets his hands on it or his nose on it. So they do that for photo ops. So what's a better photo op? Blowing up a ship or catching the bad guys and the drug pins and all the cartels? So clearly they are avoiding this due process. And we see it explained perfectly here by Jessica Tarlov. She's the main left-leaning voice on Fox News, and she just eviscerates all the talking points. Folks, where is the due process our military fought so hard to protect?
No one can confirm that we've actually been taking out narco traffickers or huge drug traffickers, however you want to say it. And last week when we were talking about this, Dana had just seen the alert that the admiral at the that the admiral in charge of the Southern Command had resigned. And he was the one who was in charge of this. And the reporting is that he wasn't comfortable with the mission and had been pushing back within the Pentagon. And do you think he would have resigned if everything was by the book? So we have 32 people that have been killed so far, 7 individual strikes. We know that the Colombian president is alleging at least that an innocent fisherman was murdered. We know that there's a family from Trinidad who's saying that a member of their family was killed. And then it is really important that we have repatriated 2 people, one to Colombia, one to Ecuador, because that indicates that we don't have any evidence to prosecute them, that we didn't know who these guys were. Because if you did have evidence, you would bring them before a court. And I know that you're going to make fun of me, and I am prepared for it each and every day. But drug traffickers also have rights.
Isn't this crazy that she's prepared that her Republican cohorts are going to make fun of her for saying that drug traffickers have rights, and they do. The penalty for trafficking drugs is not missiles and immediate death. That's not the penalty. You get a chance, just like the Boston bomber got a trial when he was accused of whatnot. You get a chance in court to prove your case, because there are plenty of times where an overambitious Department of Justice gets things wrong. And my guess is probably half of these boats were just fishermen. That's just my guess. I don't know. You know why? Because it hasn't gone through the court system. So here's Mike Johnson explaining this government shutdown in ways where he's actually blaming it on the Democrats.
The Democrats are the ones voting repeatedly to shut down the government. But they're not opening it back up. They spent most of their time trying to distract the American people from the very simple truth. So I brought you a little visual aid here to just remind everybody what the simple facts are. 4 simple facts here. The Democrats are required to open the government. They keep saying Republicans are in charge of government. We aren't, not in the Senate. 60 votes control the Senate, not a bare majority.
So there it is. Mike Johnson just, completely shifting the focus away from the reason the government is shut down. Yeah, you're going to need to negotiate with the Democrats in this one. And they haven't budged, and the Democrats haven't budged. And I'm kind of glad, because, yeah, on the short term, there are people missing their payments. There are essential federal workers that are not being paid that have to go to work, and that's terrible. But think about that compared to, there's about 1 million or so federal employees. Think about that compared to the 20 million people whose health insurance is set to skyrocket just several months from now. And if you're confused about this and money's tight, go check for yourself. I'd love people to write in. Send me a DM on Instagram. Let me know. Have you checked in on your marketplace? How much is your bill going up by? There's still a chance to stop it. There really is. Here we have Tim Walz kind of refuting these talking points.
Both sidesism. This is owned by the Republicans. It is owned by their ability to want to have anything their way. They've got a president that is pulling money back that was appropriated by the legislature, which these legislators, I'm glad they are, would be horrified by that idea, giving up their authority as an independent branch. So I know Democrats are ready to go. I know they're ready to come back and do this. They're ready to come back and protect things that had passed the legislature. They are not willing to come back and let an authoritarian president do whatever he wants. The people are going to be lined up out here to get food, and we're talking about a damn ballroom. Don't lose the plot. Not a boat.
Don't lose the plot. And yeah, that's the whole point with the ballroom. Sure, maybe it's privately funded, but how did people acquire so much wealth that they can just spend hundreds of millions of dollars on politicians? And the whole system is just flawed in that sense. So again, my thoughts on this is the reason why I do what I do is I have got, I guess I've learned this over time, a real sort of desire for wanting justice to play out, whether it be, defending someone wrongfully accused, or in this case, fighting for the people that don't have a voice that might, what's interesting? Be honest with you. I drove 12 hours to Fort Myers from Nashville, and I drove 12 hours back. I did Nashville to Fort Myers to Orlando back. So we did this little triangle through all sorts of parts of Florida. I'm not lying. I swear to God, I did not see one MAGA flag. I didn't see one MAGA yard post. I did see several Confederate flags. That's a different issue. But I didn't see one MAGA flag. People are pulling them up. People are saying, you know what? I signed up for some formative change, but not this. I signed up for getting rid of the, trans, dance class in Venezuela, whatever the crazy things they said USAID was doing, but not this. This isn't the violent criminals, right? This isn't the gangs. This is them ripping kids out of their lunch line at school who might have been born here, but without the proper protections of, being a U.S. citizen. This is them ripping away different rights, giving tax breaks to the ultra wealthy, and then trying to find the money, right? Do people this is the problem with the news cycle. It's so fast. Do we even remember a month ago, our government was claiming that Obama committed treason? What? Don't you guys remember Elon Musk floated the idea about having Doge stimulus checks? Didn't get mine in the mail. And this whole idea, like we're going to crack trillions of dollars worth of fraud and abuse, it didn't exist. We already had, projects in place to try to protect from fraud and abuse, and a lot of those were kind of broken down by the Trump administration. So I'm all for a more efficient government. But when it comes to people not getting fed, when it comes to people losing their job and not being able to afford for their family, you're going to see violence. You're going to see crime. It's going to spike because people are going to do what they're going to have to do to protect themselves. I don't encourage it. These are just facts. This is what's coming when the rich are going to be stuck in their ballroom and the poor are going to be in line waiting for soup. This is going to get bad before it gets better. What side do people want to be on? Well, judging by the lack of MAGA signs I saw on my road trip, I'm going to guess people are on the side of change, but not the change we're seeing. We'll be back in the morning with more. We're here twice a day, every day for your morning and afternoon. I'm Dave, and this is The Rush.